Hi, everyone. We're here to talk about Giving Tuesday India and Daan Utsav. I'm here with a very special set of people, all of whom have been part of this initiative. I have Asha Karan, who's the head of Giving Tuesday globally. And next to her, we have Venkat Krishnan, who's a Daan Utsav volunteer. He's also the principal trustee of the India Welfare Trust. And we also have Pushpa Aman Singh with us. She's the CEO of GuideStar India. Sorry, she's the CEO of GuideStar India and also the global leader for Giving Tuesday in India. Before we get started with our conversation, Pushpa has an announcement to make. So over to you, Pushpa.
Hi, everyone. Today is the sixth day of Daan Utsav in its 11th year. And while all of us have been celebrating giving and generosity, doing so many lovely acts on the ground, painting walls, collecting clothes, feeding with sandwiches, wish trees in so many places, online donations, donations through e-commerce websites and whatnot, I want us to take out a moment because this giving and generosity is all about empathy and compassion. So while we are celebrating Navratri and the Giving Festival in the Giving Week, there are so many Indians out there, especially in Bihar and some other states, who are reeling in floods. They've practically lost everything. I saw pictures on television of water reaching almost the mattresses in hospitals. People have lost whatever food material they had. Clothing, it's either gone or filled with slush or just not there. Roofs have disappeared. Kids will not know where to begin because they've lost their books and everything. In these moments of distress, while it's festival time, let's turn our thoughts to people in Bihar and around and give them generously whatever you can. Every rupee counts. Yesterday, I was talking to someone who said, even people who are taking care of our offices, who are working in our homes, want to express their solidarity that they are with people suffering from floods. So we have partnered with Goonch, who has been reaching out to people in disasters, be it Kerala, Assam, even in Nepal. Goonch volunteers are out there. They are making sure that material reaches the flood-affected people immediately. So the little thing that we can do right away while you're watching us speaking is look at the QR code, the UPI QR code that's come up. Put out your smartphones. Just use any UPI app or your bank payment app. Scan this QR and don't feel shy about what you're giving. You could give in all privacy 1 rupee or many rupees, but just do it now because it's important that help reaches people of Bihar right now. And the more important message is millions of us in the rest of India are thinking about people out there. That thought is very important. So it doesn't matter whether you're giving 1 rupee, 100 rupees, or 1,000 rupees, but the fact that every one of us is giving and every one of us cares for them is so very important at this moment. That's the announcement that I want to make. Start today, give every day, and keep giving.
Thank you, Pushpa. So like I said earlier, we have a really special set of people here who've been involved in shaping Daan Utsav and shaping Giving Tuesday globally. And we're going to hear a little bit more about them, about all of that. Venkat, I'd like to start with you. Daan Utsav kind of was conceptualized about 10 years ago. Could you tell us a little bit about the journey and, how it began, what it means to you?
Sure. So, the idea of a giving week is actually very old. The first one that I know of was in the UK in 2004, where Charities Aid Foundation organized a National Giving Week in the UK. There was one in Australia after that, etc. Way back in 2005, a bunch of us got together and thought about what can we do to celebrate giving in India. The idea of having a National Giving Day was born. Unfortunately, it stayed an idea then because all of us were busy running our own organizations. And it's pretty much in 2009 that we finally kickstarted the festival. So a bunch of us got together from corporates, non-profits, schools, colleges. A whole bunch of people came together and we said, okay, let's create this week to celebrate giving in India. That's how it started. It's kind of grown. It's picked up a lot of momentum. It's now in the 11th year. And by our estimates, more than 10 million people across India celebrate the festival.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Asha, Giving Tuesday, Daan Utsav started about a decade ago. A few years later, across the world, Giving Tuesday was born. Can you tell us a little bit about, how that came to be and what that means for you?
Sure. And I think Daan Utsav and Giving Tuesday are just the perfect match for each other. Giving Tuesday was born in 2012 in the United States as a very simple concept, a day for giving following the days of Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Of course, the amazing thing about it is that although those days are very US centric, that Giving Tuesday since then has spread to countries all over the world, countries that obviously don't celebrate Thanksgiving and for the large part don't celebrate Black Friday or Cyber Monday. I think that's an amazing testament to the fact that that generosity doesn't actually need to be predicated on anything else, that it stands alone, a day of generosity. And Giving Tuesday is more than a fundraising day. It's a movement in the sense that it has a grander vision for a better society fueled by generosity that affects long-term behavior change.
Pushpa, so globally, Giving Tuesday is the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. But here in India, we've chosen a very specific week to celebrate Daan Utsav and Giving Tuesday India. Why is that the case?
I love this question. It gives me an opportunity to explain to people why Giving Tuesday and Daan Utsav are so close and, like you said, a perfect match. So when Asha was talking to me many years ago and then to Venkat, the thought that first came to my mind was we can celebrate the Tuesday of what was then called the Joy of Giving Week. And then in 2017, when you had a conversation with Venkat, he called me and said, why don't you take this up from Guidestar India and anchor this. And we had this conversation about what will happen if India celebrates on a different day. And the whole thought behind joining Giving Tuesday as a movement was how does India express its solidarity to a global feeling of giving and spreading this movement. And we said that, therefore, while this is about joining the global family and being inclusive, we need to keep that at the core of what we do as Giving Tuesday in India. So when the whole of the country, celebrating Daan Utsav, and I was fortunate to be working with Venkat earlier at Give India, and then when Daan Utsav was being born as a volunteer, the amount of work that's gone into it, volunteers around the country work actually through the year, building partnerships, relationships with individuals and institutions. It just felt like, why not build on that giving movement? Why not strengthen it, bring more assets into it, like the NGO partnerships that we have, like the online giving portals who work with nonprofits to drive giving there? Why not bring all of that much more centrally into using Giving Tuesday India as a basis to connect these players or these participants into the larger Daan Utsav movement. To look at it differently, if we were to do it with the rest of the world on a different date, like Asha said, not everywhere around the world people relate to Thanksgiving or Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Perhaps we could have overcome that with some marketing, but it just seems so not inclusive to be driving people to choose one over the other, because not everyone has the bandwidth and the resources to celebrate, a week-long festival. So it just seemed very logical to me that we should go with the Tuesday of Daan Utsav. Also, what's more important is Daan Utsav is 2nd to 8th of October, beginning with Mahatma Gandhi's birthday. And he was all about compassion, all about thinking about others. And I can't imagine a better day to start a giving festival in India. So to me, it seemed like the perfect fit to have the Tuesday of Daan Utsav. Of course, I'm having to repeat this answer to many people to make sure that we all are well aligned, but I can't think of any other date. And I'm fortunate that the global team encourages local organizations to pick countries to pick what is more relevant to them. And we actually have a double peak, because we start celebrating the Tuesday of Giving Tuesday of Daan Utsav in India. And our My Giving Story challenge actually continues till the global Giving Tuesday. So it's just a beautiful way of doing it.
And from Giving Tuesday's perspective, Giving Tuesday has always, from the very beginning, been about experimentation. And whenever something comes up that our first instinct could be, what a traditional nonprofit sort of instinct could be. No, you have to do this our way, and you have to do it on our day, and you have to use our logo. We always say, wait a minute, it's probably the better idea, right, to trust this local leader in what will work best in their region. And it's been just brilliant. Also, I would say that after India celebrates Giving Tuesday India, they turn their attention to supporting the rest of the world as the second Giving Tuesday comes along. So we very much believe that, the more we can experiment with Giving Tuesday and doing it different ways in different regions, the better.
That's great. So you're building on the diversity that all of the countries offer you. I'd just like to build on that a little bit. I mean, it's a global movement. You refer to it as a match. You refer to it as joining a family. What does that mean? How are countries sharing from each other? What is India learning from other Giving Tuesday countries? I'll throw this out to all three of you, and whatever you'd like to share with us.
So the part of Giving Tuesday that most people don't understand exists and probably don't need to know exists is that there is a global network of leaders who are creating that movement, the movement of Giving Tuesday in each of their countries. And that's in 60 plus countries formally and informally, meaning social media activity or campaign activity in literally every country and territory on earth. So the leaders that are forming their own movements in these 60 plus countries and now in local communities, over 200 in the United States, many in other countries as well, they have formed a highly interconnected community, and that community is also driven by the same principles as the movement itself. So it's a community that is driven by generosity within as well as generosity without. It's driven by mutual support and sharing. These things might seem obvious, but in the nonprofit world, in many places, people have a good idea or something that works and they keep it to themselves. And they look at other NGOs as competitors rather than collaborators. In the Giving Tuesday network of leaders, that's not the case at all. We exist to support each other. We exist to learn from one another. And the implications of that are really profound, right? If you can have a good idea born in one country and then see that rapidly replicated in other countries across the world, that's a real game changer for the NGO world. And it very much does feel like a global family.
I'd like to add to that. So one of the first things you do as a Giving Tuesday global leader is become a part of a WhatsApp group. And it's such a fun, warm WhatsApp group. I keep telling Asha and the others that I haven't been part of a better group. Any time of the day, 24/7, a part of the world is awake. And it's a group that really helps. So crowdsourcing ideas when you're pitching to a company that's working globally, literally in 10 minutes, you get ideas popping up. And I made a presentation to a corporation in India with actually the screenshots of my WhatsApp messages. That's one example. The other is just a few days ago, I mentioned Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam in one of the chats, and I had Jalla from Liberia write to me last night, could you pronounce that once more? And we want to talk about that. Or my friends in Brazil, they keep asking for video bites from time to time. Or our leaders in France are putting together something. So they said, if I could share some examples. In the first year, I was talking about Seva Sandwich, which is a very popular Daan Utsav idea. And I think folks in Mexico were very interested in it. Or the Tuesday Promise, a couple of people loved that. Singapore, the first thing they said to me when we got connected is, we love Daan Utsav, and can you connect us with people there? So there's such a transfer of information, tools, processes, ideas, assets. And the latest one was, I was stuck with a listening tool. And I literally sent out a message before I went to bed 2 days ago. And by morning, I had like the solution. So I couldn't feel more at home in that global family.
It's remarkable. And I think there's two really good lessons to be drawn from the dynamic of that group. One is I get asked a lot, like, who invested in building the fancy platform that you must have built all of this on? And I say it's entirely built on existing and free technology. So the last thing we need is more new fancy platforms. The tools to connect the world in various ways are there. We just need to use them for that purpose. We didn't bring anything new, fancy technologically to this movement, but we did bring a new kind of intention. And then I would also say to the dynamic that Pushpa is describing, there's a real sense of empathy building in a time when we're seeing so much nationalism and xenophobia, that this is a borderless type of movement where there is no hierarchy, and there's no hesitation to share despite religions, cultures, any of that.
Great. It sounds pretty incredible. I'd like to change tracks just a little bit. I mean, we're here essentially to celebrate the joy of giving. Venkat, if you could tell us a little bit about the many ways in which, whether it's individuals or large companies, what are some of the ways in which people could participate in Daan Utsav and in the joy of giving?
Well, I mean, there is no limit to the ways in which people can participate, right? So, from something as simple as, let's say, giving a new pair of clothes to the security guard in your building, or what we've seen a lot of young people do, take pots of chai at 2 in the morning, go around their area and serve tea to all the security guards because they don't get anything to drink at night, but they are expected to stay up. Or we've had people, giving their drivers or maids a day off and 2 movie tickets to go and watch a movie. So it can be something as simple as that, going to corporates. And one of the interesting things we've seen a lot of corporates do is to use this week as an opportunity to run experimental pilots. So, for example, if you're a corporate wants to test out something new in terms of look and feel, you can actually, put out a campaign reaching out to individuals and see whether it's kind of working during that week. So, especially for e-commerce companies, for other consumer-facing companies, this is a wonderful opportunity to run very simple pilots during the week to see whether you're able to try out, a new product line or a new service line, or trying to reach out new segments in the market that you've not been able to tap earlier.
Before we end, I'd just like to ask each of you, at a very individual level, what does Giving Tuesday and what does being part of Daan Utsav mean to you? Just a couple lines for each of you.
For me, it's being connected with a very large family of people from all walks of life. This actually melts all kinds of boundaries. The frame of Giving Tuesday India on Facebook, I saw friends, from around the globe wearing it, from all walks of life. And the conversations are, I've made lots of new friends because of this whole giving movement.
Yeah, I mean, for me, at an individual level, one of the things I'm doing this week is what I call my experiments with truth. So for this whole week, I'm not allowed to even utter a small white lie. I can't say I got late because of traffic. As well as, of course, giving money and other stuff that I do normally. I think what this does mean to me at an individual level is how can each of us become a better human being? Because giving is about not just giving money, time, skills, etc., but giving something. For example, the ability to listen instead of the need to speak is a very simple way to give back as well. So whatever we can do to give, and in that process make ourselves better human beings, is the best thing that we can do.
That's lovely.
Lovely. For me, Giving Tuesday largely is about a vision for a better world. But I also think that Giving Tuesday erases the bifurcation between those who have and those who need, and instead is a kind of great leveler in positioning us all as being people who have and people who need, and coming together in solidarity to fill those gaps.
Great. Thanks so much for your time and
Thank
for all
you.
of that wonderful conversation. And for everyone who's out there, if you haven't had a chance to participate in Giving Tuesday India just yet, today and tomorrow are your last days. So go for it. Go find what how you'd like to help somebody else and share and give.
Thank you, Sneha.
Thank you.